Welcome to the Women Leaders Association podcast, where we believe we go further, faster, and have more fun when we go together. Be sure to tune in each week to hear an empowering message from the world's top women executives, trailblazers, entrepreneurs, and all-around fierce female leaders. I'm your host, Julianne Kirkland, and I will be taking you on a deep dive of each message to equip you with the principles, strategies, and tools you need to start crushing your goals, increasing your impact, creating work-life harmony, and did I mention have more fun? Because when you love what you do it better. The Women Leaders Association is the world's largest women executives association with over 30,000 women in executive and leadership positions who are committed to the development and advancement of women in the corporate arena. If you would like to get involved in a Women Leaders Association chapter, would enjoy daily podcasts, or you desire to become a part of the Women's Mastermind group near you, simply go to womenleaderspodcast.com. Now let's tune in for this incredible message. Hey, welcome back to the Women Leaders Podcast. I am so excited Candiss is with us today. Welcome, Candiss.
Hello.
Glad you're here. So we're just going to go ahead and call it out because we're all about being real and authentic on the show. Candiss does have a bit of a cold, but we're like, you know what? We're doing it anyway because that's how we do. Right, Candiss?
Right.
That's right. And so I want to go ahead and dive in with, you've accomplished so much in the corporate setting, in the world, and everything that you're doing. And you have a passion for really helping people to set boundaries with their personal life. You have 5 children, is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. So let's talk about that because I know that is one of our most requested topics at the Women Leaders Association for all of our members. And I heard one time and I really resonated with it. Somebody was talking about how work-life balance, that term in itself is so misleading because when we think about balance, we go back to that old school like balance beam, right? Where we're trying to stand still and hold on one foot. And whoever it was that was speaking was like, it's not about standing still, right? It's in the movement. It's finding fluidity. It's finding that harmony in all the things, right? Sometimes you're going to kind of over deliver as a mom, and sometimes you're going to over deliver in the corporate world. And it's how can we find the harmony in it all? So I would love to get your thoughts on that. Like, when did you realize, this is something I need to pay attention to?
Really, it happened through life. So one thing I learned is that I can do 2 things good at all times. So I can be a great mom and I can be a great worker. And I can be a great mom and I can be a great wife. But I can never do all 3 things simultaneously.
Yeah.
So sorry, my voice sounds worse than I expected. So, and really, so I'll put it out there. I've been married twice. Okay. My first marriage was when I had all the kids and they were little. And it was very difficult to find that balance of how can I keep moving forward in my career and be a great mom. And they were little and I was exhausted all the time. And I was working all the time and I would work, ungodly hours, 60 hours a week, just to get ahead. And at that time in my career, I didn't know boundaries. Okay. And it was tough. And I always tell my oldest kids, do not choose the path that I did in my younger years. Do not use me as your role model. Because my oldest daughter, for instance, she's 30 and she's in the corporate world. So she saw how I worked when I was younger. And I said, don't work and let me be your role model. I said, I was a horrible example. So I love that you have a great work ethic. I love that came through, but you need to set your boundaries. And I use that with all of my direct reports. I said, because somebody taught me this, a woman taught me this in my career. She said, look, Candiss, she goes, you working all of these hours does nothing. I will respect you more if you raise that white flag and you say, hey, And this is my boundary. You put your out of office on at 5 p.m. and you're done for the day. You spend your time being a mom and wife. And so I started doing that. And then people learn around you.
Mm-hmm.
So you create your culture around you.
Yeah.
So, and that's really important for people to realize, because guess what? Work is always there.
So
Work
true.
never goes away.
So true. Yes.
And you do a disservice to your team that you're on. You do a service to your company
Mm-hmm.
if you are working a ton of hours
Yeah.
and people don't realize it.
Right.
Because what they're seeing is that, guess what? This team is doing phenomenal. This team is doing great. But they don't realize that somebody's working a lot of hours.
Right.
So if you start working the real hours, you set your boundaries,
Yeah.
because the only people that suffer are you and your family.
Yeah. And I
So
love,
make sure you set the
kudos to whoever it was that told you that, like,
right,
Candice, let's set some boundaries, right?
right,
Because I mean, one of my favorite phrases is what you permit, you promote, right? When
exactly.
you permit that behavior over and over and over again, because I can totally imagine as the boss or the employer, whoever it was, right? Of thinking like, well, this is great. I have this employee that just wants to work and work and work and work and work. However, again, you're
Mhm.
permitting that to happen. So you're promoting that culture and it's not sustainable. And
It's
it's
not
really a disservice to the rest of the team, like you were saying, that's trying to come alongside and build something beautiful together that have boundaries in place, right? Because then there's all that animosity between everybody of like, wait a second, why aren't you producing like Candace is? Well, Candace is burning herself out.
exactly. And your team members start thinking that they have to do that. And
Right,
that's not fair to them.
right.
So it's really important that you set, as you develop your leadership skills,
Yes.
that you set the tone and culture for everybody around you.
Yeah.
So have those boundaries. And when you start setting boundaries, you will get more respect.
Yes.
So it's so important, not only for yourself, for your brand, and for your family.
Yeah.
And realize you don't have to be Wonder Woman. You
Right.
don't have to do all three things perfect. And
Yeah.
nobody can do three things perfectly. It's
Right.
almost impossible.
Right. And you know what I found is I did a TED talk on this 2 years ago now. Yeah, 2 years ago now. On just how often, right, we kind of diminish parts of ourselves when we're in work mode, right? We like diminish the creativity that we use when we're
Mm-hmm.
moms. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so it's like, what if we tapped into all of it, like all of who we are, and we showed
Mm-hmm.
up as that person every single day in everything that we do? Then it's not this like, okay, I gotta clock out of being a mom to clock into being a work, and it's like all these different hats that we're trying to wear, and it's so much added energy. Expenditure from ourselves, right? To try and keep all these plates in the air at the same time, when really it's like when I just agree to hold the boundary to be myself, like that's my boundary I'm setting. Like even when I'm at home, I need to make sure I'm still taking care of me. Even when I'm
Yeah.
wife, I have to make sure I'm still taking care of me. Even when I'm at work, I have to make sure I'm still taking care of me. And if you can take that kind of energy and setting these boundaries that you're talking about, right? How powerful that can be to show up in all of those places as fully yourself.
Right. And what's important as part of that is really being honest with yourself.
Yes.
And that's hard to do. So it's really important to have a female peer who'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
And so make sure you have that bestie that is not a yes man bestie
Yes, that's so good. Yeah.
that will call you out
Yeah.
and say, be real with yourself. So honestly, be honest with yourself. Um,
Yeah.
you are also responsible for developing yourself and going after things along those lines. And also know your worth.
Yeah.
You know, you know, be confident in yourself, and know, hey, I'm okay because I'm worth it to
Yeah,
set those boundaries.
that's
I'm
right.
okay to leave a job that doesn't know my worth.
Yeah.
I'm okay to make a change in life. And always remember that sometimes we feel that maybe we don't go for a job change because we're not worthy,
Mm,
or we have not set that boundary that, hey, I'm going to keep doing the same old job, same old job, same old job, because I'm really good at it. Um, or I haven't gotten that promotion because they know I'm going to stay here no matter what.
mm,
Because I set that boundary, letting them know that I can be passed over
right.
because
You
she's not
permitted it,
worthy.
therefore you promoted that. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So make sure that you set that boundary to your leaders
Yes.
that, hey, I'm going to stay here for 2 to 3 years. This is my boundary, but I want to be promoted to the next level in 3 years.
Yeah.
And guess what? At 3 years, I've set that boundary. And if you don't promote me, I know my worth.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start looking and
Right.
make them aware of that. So all of this goes hand in hand. So it's more than I clock out at 5 and that's my boundary.
Right.
Or this is my workload. That's my boundary.
Right.
Boundaries go into all areas of life. It's
Yes.
about, knowing your worth, knowing what level you're going to be in a company, and
Right.
knowing when you're going to stop at a level. Some people, know, what level do you want to get into a corporation? And that's going to change over time.
Right.
Life's going to make you change. Always know your boundaries. And those may change, and you may need to reset them, and make sure though you are always clear about your boundaries. And
Yes.
those come in your development goals that you're working on and your performance goals. Many corporations are going through their performance goal cycles right now.
Yeah.
And some people dread those. I've been a manager for many years, and my employees are like, oh God, I hate doing them. I hate doing them. But that's the perfect time to be clear about your boundaries and
Yeah.
write them into your goals. So it's all about life.
Yeah.
And your boundaries come with dealing with your in laws, if you have them, dealing with your parents, dealing at work. Boundaries come in every shape and form. And you
Yes.
just start practicing them, because
Yeah.
if you don't have experience with them, um, practicing them with your kids,
Yes.
um,
They're
with your
very
two year
forgiving.
olds, with your 2 year olds,
Yes.
16-year olds, 30-year olds.
Yes.
You
Yes.
practice them everywhere.
So let's talk about, I mean, from what I'm gathering thus far, let's talk about the practicality of it, right? Because there is somebody listening right now that's like, yes, Candice, I hear you. I believe this. I'm kind of struggling to practically put it together. So thus far, right, it's identify the areas of your life, right, that you need to set
Right,
boundaries in, right? The
right.
different, all the different silos that we kind of tend to go in and how we can not make those be silos, but identify all the different areas. And then, you talked about practice. Uh,
Hmm.
what are some other practical tools and tips that you can give to the listener right now going, yes, I need some more like tangible how to help me through this.
So, for example, we already talked about work, setting your hours. A great way to do this is, if you are at work and you have an Outlook calendar that you work with, okay, go in there and put your reoccurring up with your time shift in there. You're out of office every day, set that at 5 p.m. till 8 a.m. the next morning. Set in a lunch hour. Okay. Some people who work in corporations um, tend to get meetings from 12 to 1 every day because that's the slot everybody's free.
Right,
Well, that's because people like to eat, but you
right.
get a lunch hour. Okay.
You know that
Those are
that
just
thing.
simple. Those are simple examples for that type of boundary. Okay. A work example. Okay. If you are have a work phone, okay, and a personal phone. Um, put your work phone in a drawer when you are off work.
Yeah.
Okay. I always have a tendency to look at it, or I had a tendency. That was something I had to break myself of.
Yes.
Or I would put it in my purse and I would carry it with me when I was out with the kids. Okay.
Right.
It would ring, I would answer it. No, anymore. It doesn't go with me. It doesn't go with me on vacation.
Yeah.
You go on vacation, excuse me, do not take your laptop. Do not take your phone. Okay,
Right.
boundary there. Okay. Your boss asks you to take on an additional assignment. Think hard, know your worth. Don't automatically accept.
Mm.
Okay. Say no. Your kids at school. Okay. A lot of times there's those letters that come home. We need volunteers. We need volunteers.
Right.
Okay. Realize what you can and cannot volunteer for.
Yes. That
You
can
do
we
not.
just pause there a second because that is hitting home to so many people right now that
Yeah.
feel like, especially when they, over deliver at work and then they feel like, well, I've got to make it up to my kids, right? And then you're trying to over deliver there as well. So you're signing
Mhm.
up for all the things and I'm going to be the class mom and I'm going to do this and I'm going to help you get set for this party. And then come the day of, you're like, oh, I can't make any of this work. And it's because you've overextended yourself, right? So it goes very much with what you're saying of really, really know your worth, know your capacity. All those things are very important.
Listen, I have 5 kids. All right. And I always believed in, I didn't overschedule my kids at anything. So I really think as a parent, you have to make that decision. How are you going to raise your kids? I can have a whole seminar, a whole 30 minutes on kids. Okay. But um, with my kids are artists. Okay. Um, we did the sports path with some of them, but we didn't put them in every sport out there
Yeah,
because I did not want to live in a minivan
right.
after work. Okay. But as a parent, you have to judge how you want to spend your life. Do you want to spend your evenings interacting with your kids and being a parent and doing things like that? Or do you want to spend taking them to event to event to event and sitting in the stands? You have to make a decision, and that's where the boundaries come into play. And so, really think about it. Um, listen, I have kids in college now. Um, they don't even remember the sports they played and whether I was there at a game. Yes, did I make it to most of their games? Yes. Did I make it to all their games? No.
Yeah,
But they don't remember that. They did
right,
remember me being there and showing up for the important things.
right.
You don't have to be there for everything. They do not remember that I didn't show up at every class party function, that I
Yes,
didn't send cupcakes
yes,
for every class party. Did I send them for some? Yeah.
right.
I participated at the school on occasion. Did I do it everything? So don't be hard on yourselves, ladies.
Yeah,
You know, how about I always sent the teacher at the beginning of the year, listen, if you ever need anything for the classroom, I will send it, but I probably won't volunteer.
right.
I
Same.
made it clear
Yes,
with the teachers. I made it clear with the class mom who sent out the letter at the beginning of the year. How can you volunteer? You need anything at all? I'll send it.
yeah,
Don't ask me to volunteer. I'm
right.
too busy with work.
Hmm.
You know what? It's just choices you make. And 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 my kids have never said I'm a bad mom.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just the choices you play and the role you
Mm.
play with your moms. If you're a traveling mom, okay, your boundaries. You sometimes when you have careers, you can't say to your boss, no, I can't travel someplace because my
Right,
son has a test. But you can FaceTime with your kid at night
right,
and go over the test materials with them. So there's different boundaries you can do,
right.
but it will be stressful. I
Hmm.
won't lie. And to do that balance, to be that great mom and be that great worker at the same time, You still have stress,
Right.
um, even with boundaries. Okay. And sometimes you're forced to do that through that triangle, you know,
Mhm.
um, and you will have stressful times,
Right.
but boundaries help, and boundaries
Yes.
make a significant difference.
Yes, absolutely. And I think really in setting the boundary, no matter what it's for, it all goes back to what you were saying about you have to be willing to be honest with yourself
Mhm,
because people can give you great advice. Like y'all have heard so many great things today and tips
mhm,
and tricks and how to really incorporate this in your own life. But at the end of the day, it is going
mhm,
to be you tonight sitting down with yourself and
mhm,
going, okay, time to get honest. Time to be honest with myself about what I actually want. Am I actually doing the things that will get
mhm,
me to what I say that I want? Or
mhm,
am I compromising in multiple areas of my life? And then I'm constantly frustrated with myself. Like Candace said, stress is going to happen. It's just a part of life, and that's okay. It's
mhm,
okay. Do we want to live in a constant state of stress? No, right? But recognize that it's okay. It's an indicator that you care a lot about what you're doing and it allows you to go, okay, where I need to check in with myself. And I think again, it goes back to that willingness to be honest with yourself.
mhm. It is. And so there's a song that it's made by Desiree, and I encourage every woman to listen to it. And I sang it to all my babies when they were little. It's called Gotta Be. And it's called, there's words in it. It's gotta be bad. You gotta be bold. You gotta be stronger.
Yep.
And I've had that as my theme song through my whole career. And it really resonates
Mm,
because it just reminds you, a woman has to be all these different things in life, but you just gotta hang in there,
yeah.
and you gotta be strong, and you gotta work through things, and having that balance, trying to keep that balance and keeping those boundaries keeps it together.
Yeah.
And find that time for yourself. You said it clearly. Find that me time
Yeah.
and don't forget about it. Otherwise, you're going to spiral into depression and all those things, and you don't want to
Yeah.
go there.
Right.
So, as a woman, really set your boundaries. I preach that. I preach that to my daughter and her friends. I
Yeah.
preach that to all my direct reports
Yeah.
because guess what? Managers like me keep giving you stuff, keep giving you stuff, keep giving you stuff until you raise that flag because
Right. Say, hold up.
we don't know your boundaries.
Right. And communicating, that is so
Yes,
important.
yes,
Yes, once you have set
always.
those boundaries, communicate those.
Yes,
Communicate them to yourself. Put reminder notes in your phone, on sticky notes on your mirror. Talk to your kids about the new boundary that you have set for
yes.
yourself. Like get everybody on board so that there's help in following those boundaries. Because when you try and do something new, like set boundaries in your life, and you're just now just like putting this big stop sign up with everybody, there's going to be some wait, what's going on, pushback. And so let everybody know that you're excited to really stand up for yourself and to frame it in a way when you're having these conversations that you're not only doing it for yourself, you're doing it to better serve others because that's true. You cannot serve at your highest capacity when you're completely empty.
Especially if you have a teenager and your husband.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick story. Um, my husband's answer to everything is see. And so I told him the other day, you and I need to take a vacation, just you and I.
Mm.
His answer has always been, we'll see. And I said, no, my boundary is you cannot say we will see.
I do not accept that response.
I said, I need you to commit to a date
Yes, put
that
it on the
I can
calendar.
put on the calendar and start planning a vacation for.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you have to communicate it out to them.
Yes.
And they may get frustrated a little bit, especially teenagers and husbands. Once they get used to communicating like that, they'll
Yes.
get used to you. And their behaviors will change.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and that's good because then what you're doing is you're teaching your kids, it's okay to have boundaries. And then they learn to develop them
Yes.
and set them.
Yes. Absolutely. Awesome. Candice, this has been such a great conversation. What would be that like one last piece of advice that you would give to the woman listening right now who's like, okay, I got it. I've taken a lot of notes. What would be that one last piece of advice to her to really get her started in her next step forward?
My biggest piece of advice is having that best friend who is honest and open with you and you can go to for sanity checks.
Yeah.
That is my biggest piece of advice, because if you don't have that, then it's hard for you to do your boundary checks.
Yeah.
Women, we need to stick together and we need to help each other and we need to lift each other up.
Yes.
And don't forget that.
Absolutely.
We need to be there for each other.
I love it. Awesome. Candice, thank you so much for being with us today. How can people connect with you? Are you on LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn. You'll find me there. I'm Candiss Kumar. Feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to connect to me. And I am also a panelist speaker at the upcoming Women's Forum in April. So
Awesome. Wonderful. All right. Well, Candice, thank you so much again for today. And ladies, be sure that you go to womenleaderspodcast.com to get more stories just like this.